Joseph in the gathering of Egyptian ladies. Gradually, the women of the city became informed of the disturbances Aziz's wife caused Joseph, and this became the favorite subject of their gossip in the gatherings. The wife of Aziz somehow heard about the reproachful way Egyptian ladies were talking of her, and after pondering about the situation for a while, she came up with a good idea. She decided to hold a party and thus invited a group of Egyptian ladies to her palace. The guests were all sitting in a room, and before each of them was set a dish of fruit and knives for peeling. While they were peeling the fruit with knives, Aziz's wife called Joseph in. When Joseph entered the room, the women, shocked and amazed at watching that extremely charming and angelhood man, cut their fingers instead of the fruit and said admiringly, "He is not a human being. Certainly he is a noble angel." Aziz's wife, who was quite satisfied with her success, turned toward them and victoriously said, "This is the same Joseph you have already heard of, and the one who works in my house, and I begged him to be a little more intimate with me, but he did not accept, and that was the whole thing." That day passed, and Aziz's wife resorted to any possible plan and trickery she could think of to draw Joseph's attention. But Joseph was always rejecting her until she got completely disappointed. On the other hand, Joseph was gradually confused and harassed by her temptations and passionate deeds. So he turned to God and sought refuge in his power and said, "My God, prison is much better for me than my present situation. If you do not take these women away from me, I may get trapped in their devilish temptations and commit a sin." God responded to Joseph's praying and saved him from that great sedition. The wife of Aziz, having been disappointed from tempting Joseph, went to her husband and started to complain by saying, "Joseph has ruined my reputation among the Egyptian ladies and made me notorious in the city. Now there is no more honor left for me in the eye of public. Thus, if you want me to regain my lost honor and fame, you should imprison Joseph and make him scandalous, so as to remove this mark of unfaithfulness from my honor." Although Joseph's innocence had already been practically proved to Aziz, he was greatly impressed by his wife's words and thus ordered to imprison the innocent Joseph. The day Joseph was put to jail, 2 young courtiers who were accused of hatching a conspiracy against the king to poison him were also taken to prison. One day they came to Joseph, and one of them said, "I had a dream in which I was making grape wine for the king." The other one also said, "I also had a dream in which I saw there was some bread on my head, and the birds were eating them." Now tell us what the interpretation of these dreams are, for you seem to be among the virtuous, and you are surely of the nobles. Joseph, making the most of this chance, started to propagate his own religion in the prison and said, "I'll tell you the interpretation of your dreams, and you shall know that God has taught me the science of interpreting dreams. I have turned away from those who reject God, refuse to trust in Him, and deny the resurrection day. I am following the religion of my ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. We all hate to consider a partner for God. Now say, which is better, a variety of gods and goddesses, or Allah, the One, the Supreme? These gods that you worship are only names which you and your fathers have given them. There is no proof for their existence, and they have never been approved by God. But as to the interpretation of your dreams, I shall say that the first of you who had the dream of making wine for the king will soon be freed from the prison and will regain his previous position as a winemaker. But the interpretation of the second dream is that he will soon be sentenced to death and hanged, and the birds will feed themselves from his brain. These are the interpretations of your dreams. Then Joseph called the man who was going to be relieved and said to him, "When you return to the court, tell the story of my innocence for the king. Maybe he will order to relieve me from prison." But the man, after being relieved, forgot Joseph, and Joseph remained in prison for several years.